Hi everyone, Jay Egersdorff here again to discuss game week 18 of the Fantasy Premier League. I'm absolutely delighted to see the back of game week 17. I had an absolute disaster midweek. I had so many things that went wrong. To make it worse, I actually saw it coming. I had a really bad feeling about that midweek round of matches. Delighted to see those midweek deadlines out of the way. It really doesn't fit well for me. Race against time after the weekend games to do your prep and balance your busy work life and things before you've got to make another decision. As we know, I'd said in the video last week that I'd planned to carry the transfer anyway to give myself some options this game week. Had the news on Monday night that Morata was injured, so felt I needed to make a call there. Given that I knew there'd be a lot of rotation midweek, I couldn't carry somebody with Morata's price tag. So I made the decision to switch him for Firmino. Thought that home game against West Brom would be a good game with Liverpool getting plenty of goals. Obviously that didn't happen. As a result, that left me with money in the bank, and that's something that I really don't like having, because money in the bank isn't getting you any points. It means the players on the pitch aren't the optimum players in the game. It means relying on players probably likely from mid-table type teams. That was reflected in the subs that I had. So I deliberated for probably an hour on just before the deadline whether I should switch out Ben Mee or one of my reserve defenders and use the money that had freed up in the Firmino Morata transfer to get a better defender. I was looking at maybe an Otamendi or one of the Spurs guys. In the end, I decided to gamble. I thought, Mee, there's a chance he's going to play, this guy, and I thought he would play. A minute after the deadline, of course, I got the news he wasn't playing, so that meant I knew that Kyle Naughton, who was playing Man City at home, was going to come into my team. So it pretty much didn't get any better from there. I had Hazard, who played brilliantly and got man of the match from the guys on in the commentary team on telly. Set up plenty of his teammates. None of them were able to convert any of his great assists. I had Alonso, who let in a last-minute goal. That really hurt. Then I had Kolasinac the next night. He didn't play, and Arsenal kept a clean sheet. I had the two Liverpool attackers who drew 0-0 with West Brom. I had Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who got booked in the very last minute. I had Harry Kane as captain, and I had a feeling, I said in my last video, Brighton are a team that, although they're a bit limited, they do play with integrity, and they don't make it easy for you. And I just had a feeling I didn't think Kane would do that well, and lo and behold, I was kind of right. So game week 17's out the way. Well done to anyone who managed to get over 50 points. I think if you've done that in that game week, that's a really great score, so well done if that's the case. As a result of that bad game week, I've fallen to around 230th now overall. Not a disaster, but from inside the top 50, it hurts quite a bit. So I'm really keen to get it right for game week 18 and get back up the rankings. So I've been having a play around the last couple of days. One of the things that's got me thinking about a bit of a plan here. I always look at the winter games, particularly these next 5. So we've got 5 game weeks between now, which is will be the 16th and the 2nd of Jan, so just over 2 weeks. It's almost like a mini season. So you need to look at it. Imagine if you're going to bring somebody in, forget kind of what's happened before. Just look at these next 5 games. You get a bit of time at the other side when it's the FA Cup break, to take stock again and reassess. But I think you need to build your team up for these next 5 game weeks and think of it that way. I took Kane out of my team when I was looking at the transfers just to play around a little bit, because he's got City away, Burnley away, so they don't let many in, and Southampton home, so not a bad fixture. He's then got that blank because of the rearranged game with West Ham that creates a double week in game week 22. So out of his next 3 games, maybe the Southampton game, but certainly the next 2, you're not going to captain him. He's the most expensive player on the game. I couldn't believe it when I switched him out, and I looked at switching him out for people like Lacazette, Vardy, Rooney, Firmino, of course, if you don't have him, similar price. And it suddenly frees up a heck of a lot of money. So in my case, for example, I could upgrade my Crystal Palace goalie, my Swansea or Brighton defender, and my Pascal Gross, my Brighton midfielder, I could change him to a David Silva or a Sane or a Mahrez. I could change the defender to pretty much any defender I wanted, and I could switch out my goalie for David De Gea. De Gea has got 96 points. Harry Kane has got 96 points. De Gea's over half cheaper. So suddenly I'm thinking to myself, of course to do that, that will mean investing a few points. But could you project, could you work out that actually that minus score you would make back because you'd be having 4 really strong players rather than 1 amazing player and 3 kind of average ones? That's something I'm really going to think about in the next few hours before the deadline, and I probably urge you to give that some thought. It's a bit controversial because it goes against what I say. I don't like doing point hits. If you do it though, it's not to look short term, what is it going to get me this game week, but more what is it going to get me over the next 5. And again, I do think rotation is a problem. So thinking about Harry Kane's Southampton fixture, you might not even be playing in that game. He might be rotated. So you're holding him for that reason, because he's got that game. You may not even be in it. So it's something to really think about over the next few hours before the next deadline. I think captaincy this week is a tricky one. Obviously, we've talked there about Kane not being a great option, but I think you should perhaps look at, obviously, Hazard. He's got a good home tie. Salah, top scorer on the game. Liverpool have had a little bit of a wobble, but I think they need to get back on track. And if my memory serves, I think Bournemouth's not a bad place for them to go. I certainly remember them, I think, a couple of years ago, being on the wrong end of a 4-3 or a 5-4 result, which Salah doesn't mind if they let a load in, or certainly from the fancy point of view. I think the other player maybe to consider is Rooney. Everton are really flying at the minute. I think they'll probably beat Swansea on Monday night. They've really got the tails up, and that's a game that Big Sam will definitely have marked down as a win. But there's no clear option this week, so tread a bit carefully there. I need to think a bit more about that one myself. Another thing that people have been asking me about is West Ham assets now. So they've really turned the corner under Moyes. They look quite solid. If you're looking for a defender, I really like the look of Arthur Masuaku. He's playing as quite an attacking wing-back type role. He's available for just under 4.5. I think he might still be 4.4. Attackers, I like Lanzini, but the guy I've always liked, because he's a guy who plays with his heart on his sleeve, Mikel Antonio. He's currently playing in a striker's role. He's actually probably better on an FPL perspective when he's in his more natural wing position. But if they start rocking in some goals in the next few weeks, I think Antonio could be a guy who's amongst the points. Just be careful though, they've got that blank game week in game week 21, so if you do look at a West Ham player, don't overstock. Maybe one is good for now, but just make sure you've got some bench cover for that blank. Hope that's been enjoyable. You've got quite a bit of thinking to do if you're going to have a look at that master plan strategy that I outlined there, getting rid of Kane and reinvesting the points. Reinvesting the money and costing yourself some points in the short term. Can you make it a long-term benefit for your team? Thanks for all your support as ever. Keep subscribing, sharing, commenting, and if there's questions you'd like me to discuss for future game weeks, either tweet me at Jay Egersdorff is my handle, or comment in the box below, and I'll try and address the most common recurring points. In the meantime, have a great game week, and don't get stuck Christmas shopping over the weekend. Cheers.